Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Gwaur Tag. I'm the head of Future Pathways at ISP. I'm delighted today to continue the A to Z of Future Careers session with something quite unique, delivered specifically about gap years. So we have Helen Hawkins, head of marketing from Raleigh International, talking about the benefits of gap years and how it enhances employabilities and the building of skills amongst the youth today. So without further ado, Helen, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on today. Yes, I will be here talking to you about gap years. Many of you might be thinking about doing one, hopefully a meaningful and productive one. And this presentation, I'm going to draw on my own experiences doing a gap year, my own travel experience, to try and help you work out whether this is something you would like to do or not, and what the benefits may or may not be for you. I work for Raleigh International. I went away as part of my gap year on a Raleigh International expedition. So I'm talking with a few different hats on today, and I'm also now a parent, so hopefully able to talk to you from all perspectives. So we're going to talk in general about gap years, and then I'll just reference a little bit at the end about what Raleigh International do as well. So my aim is to inspire you with some ideas, to empower you with the knowledge that you need, and equip you with the confidence to hopefully undertake a gap year full of adventure and life-transforming experiences. So what is a gap year? The dictionary definition of the word gap is this: a space or an interval, a break in continuity. So in some ways, the term gap year could be fairly misleading. It makes you feel like it needs to be, one, a whole year, and two, that it's a gap. But I would question a gap in what? So it might be a gap in education or employment, but it's not a gap in your overall learning. And arguably, it's totally the opposite, in my opinion. So I think we should consider it as a gap, not as a gap being something negative, but as a gap that's something really, really positive. So maybe we should be changing our mindsets, and maybe we should change this terminology. And does it have to be a year? So I've just alluded to that. In reality, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be going away between finishing school and starting university, or it can be taking 16 months instead of 12 to get involved in a variety of different opportunities. So really, it's whatever you make it, and it's whatever fits in with your future plans. And you don't even have to take one. For example, I didn't go on a gap year straight after school. I went after I had been to university, and I've been living in another country already for a couple of years, and I decided to go then, and then I took another career break about 3 years later. So there's really no kind of one size fits all. So please don't feel this pressure that you have to go away at a certain time, you have to go away for a certain amount of time. And if a year feels like too daunting, yeah, why not just take a little bit of time out in the summer, and then maybe you do something longer after you've been away to university, for example. So the options are open to do whatever fits with you. And a lot of the people that travel with Raleigh International, they go away for up to 10 weeks. They decide to extend their stay afterwards. So it can be really, really flexible. But my kind of main piece of advice on that would be, don't let your fears now stop you doing something unbelievable in the future. So yeah, the thought of taking a gap year might feel very daunting, but actually you're much more resilient than you'll give yourself credit for, I'm sure. But when you hear the word gap year or hear the term gap, what springs to mind? Like, what do you actually think of? What does that represent for you? I think it means different things to different people. You might think of the classic Oz trip up the East Coast. Don't get me wrong, doing something like that is incredible. I have been there and done it, but it's all about having a balance. It's not all about future employability. Going on a gap year, fun's a really important part of life, obviously, and having had the chance to do something like that before things get more serious. And at the end of the day, anyone who has the courage to go away traveling has something about them that an employer will be interested in looking at, obviously. But someone who then took the time to learn some valuable life skills like communication, teamwork, leadership, like the list goes on, they really stand out. So having the personality and resilience to take that leap of faith and do something potentially a little bit different, a little bit more challenging, and will be viewed really positively by an employer or a university. And there kind of what other opportunities are there? So, classic Australia, going and having lots of fun doing that and staying in hostels and traveling up the coast. But what else is out there that you could potentially be thinking about to maybe make your time out of education or employment more meaningful? So there's a variety of different options. So things are like there are lots of structured programs, and Raleigh International falls into that category, that offer things like volunteering overseas. You could be working. This could be work experience. So whether it's getting a part-time job to learn some new skills, to get some extra cash, to then go on away and do something more like a structured program, or you could be doing work experience in a profession that you're interested in going into, but you're not sure about. It'll give you some first-hand experience to decide if that is the career for you, or then in turn, like the university course that you would want to go down for that future career before you kind of jump in with both feet. But you could also do this overseas, and then that brings in that travel element as well. You could study abroad, do internships, as well as part of that, maybe working for some non-profit organisations or whatever that might be that you'd want to do. So you can kind of link up certain elements of a gap year in this way. And getting work experience at the same time. And you could just go traveling. So it could be independent travel with friends, or by yourself, going all over the world. And then you might be into languages. This might be your thing. And if it's your bag, there's no better way to learn a language than going and living in the native country. So you'll be learning and traveling all in one. And this could also involve some work experience. It's something I did, go and work in another country in Germany in another language. So kind of ticks a lot of boxes. And you build huge amounts of confidence doing something like that that can kind of lead on to other things further down the line. So why are we talking about this? Why would you want to take a gap year? What's in it for you? You might want to let off a bit of steam. You might end up spending too much. Hopefully not. You might not do a lot, but that's probably not what your future employer or university are going to be looking for on your CV. So what are the kind of potential pros of doing a gap year that are the kind of things that an employer is going to be looking out for? I would argue it would be things like employability, future skills. They're going to be looking at the things that you've done in your time away that are going to contribute to your future. So, the list is huge, but here are just a snapshot of some of the things that you might want to be demonstrating, having gone away with your time out, with your gap time. You're learning more about the world, you're meeting new people, work experience, you're having an adventure, you're challenging yourself. You're going to be coming out the kind of skills at the back end of that to demonstrate your resilience, your commitment, and then you'll be gaining a huge amount of independence. You've been at school and living at home with family, and then all of a sudden you're out in the wide world by yourself, and that's kind of like what the real world's going to be like in the future. Whether you're going to go to university or whether you're going to go straight into a job, you're going to need that kind of level of independence, and that's something that you will get from taking time out and making that leap of faith and going somewhere different and doing something different. And that all in turn will prepare you for that experience of doing further education, or whether you're looking for a job. And I believe personally now that gap years are going to become increasingly important. So as you strive to stand out, so I think this is one of the main things to point out about a benefit for you. So that to be able to demonstrate the soft skills that you are needing to demonstrate to make yourself stand out from the crowd. So things like communication, leadership, and team working that I mentioned before, it's very difficult to actually obtain experience in those. So everyone's looking for experience. What experience have you had doing this? And to actually gain practical experience of those things is very different from sitting in a classroom. And when do you have the chance to do something like that? So actually pulling yourself out of your comfort zone, going away, taking this time out can actually give you the opportunity to physically demonstrate that you've done some of those things. And I think that is now becoming more important as we obviously post-COVID, but there are hundreds of thousands of young people that have come out of that era having lost those lockdown years and that contact with people and the opportunity to learn those kind of skills. So we're living in an ever more digital world, as I'm sure you're already aware, and we need to do something to combat that. And going away and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is doing something completely opposite to that. And your learning of those kind of skills is going to be exponential. And what are the cons? So I've kind of got a blank page to demonstrate that I don't personally think that there's a negative to doing something like this. I mean, obviously, I'd say that I work for an organization that helps people take time out from education, time away from working. And I can recognize that some people may view elements of taking the time to this rather than going straight into employment or straight into the further education might be negative. But I kind of would argue that I can see a counter argument to those things. It is expensive, potentially, yes. But in one way, it's money well spent. It would represent value for money. And also, if you really want to do something like this and you need to raise the funds for it, you're learning so much just by doing that. And it's taking time out of employment. You could just be going straight into the workplace and you're hitting the ground running and you're going to be promoted much sooner. But I would argue that the skills that you're learning while you're away, hopefully if you're doing something more meaningful, are skills that are completely transferable. Arguably, you're going to learn those things at a much quicker rate. You're going to become into that workplace ahead of the game rather than behind. And it's pausing your education potentially. Is that stopping the flow? Or does it just help you appreciate what you're learning and the world on a whole other level and where you fit within that context? So although there are things that potentially might stand out against taking the time away and when you might choose to do it, but I think there's always an argument for it. We often get asked, when is the best time to take a gap year? When's the best time of year? When should I do it? Should I do it before I go to university? Should I do it after I go to university? And my answer to this would be, it's your choice. I don't think there's a best time or a best age. It really depends on the person that you are. So there's no right or wrong here. That's what I'm trying to demonstrate. So there'll always be doors open to you when you get back, and potentially better ones, because you've learned so much and you learned so much about yourself. But it is bound to feel uncomfortable at first, taking that step, getting on that aeroplane, landing somewhere you have never been before. But that feeling, it doesn't last long. And actually having that feeling, but then overcoming it, is this huge piece of learning. And then the fun, the excitement, the memories, those are the things that are going to last a whole lot longer than that initial feeling of anxiety. And we also get asked, where do I start? How do I plan a gap year? What do I do that feels so big? That feels like there's so many opportunities. You could be doing a structure program, you could be traveling, you could be working, you could be learning a language, you could be doing all of these things. So yeah, where do you begin with that? And I would recommend just starting really small. And getting gradually more ambitious. Obviously, this will depend on your past experiences, how many times you've travelled overseas, whether you've done anything independent before or not. So definitely take it at your own speed, but the principle of starting small, taking one step at a time, and then those steps will build up to something much bigger. So something like what we do at Raleigh International is a really great stepping stone to doing something independent by yourself. And there's obviously other organizations that offer similar things where it's a structured program and there are staff there around you to kind of help facilitate that, support your learning, albeit from, a distance, slightly hands off, but you've still got that safety net there. And then I think I referenced that earlier, that often young people that travel with us go away afterwards. They finish their expedition and off they go by themselves because they've got that kind of confidence to then go and do that. So, you get to experience something really exciting, but in a more safe environment, build the confidence, and then off you go. And I would recommend doing lots of research. Can't stress enough how important that is. Working out what you really want to get out of this when you're there. Like, what do you want when you come back? What do you want to have achieved? What do you want to be able to talk about? What do you want to demonstrate? On your CV or on your letter of application or whatever that might be. And there are so many options out there, but the more you look, the more you'll get an idea of what you like. And you need to be sure you research any organisation that you are travelling with really well too, so that you know that they're reputable and that you know your money will be in safe hands. And I would recommend a good measure of that is actually having a person to talk to and to ask those questions to. And then ask for help. Don't go this alone. Ask your family, ask your friends, anyone who might have done something like this. And like I said, the companies that you're looking to travel with, they should have someone that you can speak to for advice for this as well. And just a little bit about Raleigh, if you are interested in doing something like an expedition where you would be volunteering on projects, sustainable projects that would impact the local communities that we work in and the environments that we work in. Also, whilst having an incredible experience developing and challenging yourself, then just Google Raleigh International. There's a thousand different ways to get in contact with us if that's something that you're interested in. And that is it from me, my whistle stop tour to gap years.
Fantastic, Helen. Thank you so much for that very, very insightful and unique session advising parents on the benefits of gap years. And I did like your blank page for the cons for a
Yeah.
gap year. But interestingly, there are those kind of traditional thoughts about gap year in terms of, is it delaying someone's development in terms of approaching industry or getting into employment. And I really like the fact that you highlighted how actually the skills that you gain through the gap year are valued by employers. And is there any other advice that you'd have to parents that have any doubt about the benefits of gap years?
I would just say that it's getting much more competitive out there. It really is. And I think that's just been a theme. I've worked in this industry for a really long time, and it's always come up, this kind of how do you stand out? How do you look different? But actually, I think this is the first time now where I really feel that has taken it's gone up a notch just because it's just, and I think this is a post-COVID thing, like I referenced earlier, that we've got a generation now of younger people coming through that are kind of missed a whole sort of period of interacting with people and learning skills that I just don't think we're going to really realize what the impact that is a little bit further down the line. And I'm talking really more from experience of the young people we've seen go away on our expeditions. We're seeing a rise in mental health issues, people coming away and suffering from a lot of anxiety prior to coming. And that's really been marked, that change in people. And it's really made us as an organization think about what we're doing and actually how, and other organizations obviously doing similar things, that this experiential learning, taking yourself out of your comfort zone, really realizing what you are actually capable of, and sort of, calming those levels of anxiety. that actually how important that is. So it's not just the employability thing. I think it goes far beyond that. It's actually much more about their well-being and their mental health and gaining coping mechanisms. I think you kind of think about entering the world of work, and I'm sure like all a lot of the parents kind of listening in will appreciate, and I'm a parent myself, like life is stressful as you get older, and work, the world of work is stressful. We live in a capitalist society. So it's about having those skills to kind of cope with all those pressures of life, and believing in yourself. So I think taking the time out of the constraints of, institutionalization of, an educational setting, I think it can be so valuable, because you can only learn so much, can't you? Although I know, ironically, I'm talking at people through a screen, but I think actually doing something is the key, isn't it? Just doing and learning experientially. It's really important.
Interesting. And we do have, at ISP, we have our own international learning opportunity programs that we deliver with the schools. And we do have a virtual exchange program that we are offering at many of our schools for students of ISP. And I was just wondering, in terms of the value a program like that offers a student, um, what would you say, would you encourage parents to participate and have their child participate in programs like that before they go on gap years as well? Would that give them a good, build confidence, I guess, and build skills that will equip them even further to excel in that gap year?
I would say absolutely 100%. I think one of the most incredible things about going away is that you're exposing yourself to different people, different cultures, different perspectives, different ways of life. You appreciate what you've got, so much more. So I would definitely say just any exposure to that, to kind of open up your mind and your eyes to the fact that, gosh, yes, this actually could really benefit me, could give me something. And you've got that in this kind of safer confines of, that virtual learning environment. Maybe it just triggers those thoughts in their mind that, actually there is a big wide world out there, and I can learn so much from it, and I can learn from other people. Because I think, think that's what life's all about, isn't it? We're constantly learning from other people, and it's really easy to kind of look very insularly and just live in your own small world. But if you can get the opportunity, or being given the opportunity to open your eyes a bit more, I think that's so valuable. So yeah, I would highly recommend that.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. I took a gap year myself. So I'm a product of a gap year, and it has really, really shaped my passions, shaped my, areas of beliefs, and, shaped my why as well into, what career I wanted to take, and what I wanted to get out of my career. And obviously, I work in an international role now. I travel to where did I travel? Southeast Asia and Australia. And it was fantastic because it gave me the opportunity to meet different people from across the world. It was the first time I'd ever left Wales. So I did get to meet people beyond my, neighbouring cities, which was fantastic. It also gave me opportunities to work and, work in catering, work in various, fruit picking, onion picking. All have different skills and all have shaped who I am today, I believe. So I think the value in helping students maybe identify their passions is maybe underlooked as well when it comes to gap years, because it just gives that time to develop and confidence to understand who they are, and also, what they want to gain out of a career as well. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think you just don't know what you don't know, do you? And I think you just need to do something, anything, whatever that might be, just to take you outside of your normal everyday life, and something that's just going to stretch you, make you think differently. It's wonderful, isn't it? We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we can kind of live in this online world of, I can put a headset on and fly around whichever city in the world I want to look at. But there's just no substitute for doing that in person and doing actually going and doing and seeing and experiencing things. And I think that just gives you a different mindset for how you're going to approach life, work, study, whatever that might be. You know, it makes you appreciate you put some effort in, you get a huge amount out of it. And I think, yeah, there's no substitute for just going and doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Helen, thank you so much. There's such an emphasis at ISP schools to help students develop life competencies, to help them and guide them to ignite curiosity, open mindsets, you know, and look for opportunities for the best future pathway for them. And the future pathway isn't necessarily going directly to university immediately, or ever. You know, there are so many opportunities out there that doesn't require a direct route into university these days. And I think that's a really healthy place to be. But it's about you know, looking at your child as an individual, and looking at, you know, what benefits and how they can potentially grow through different opportunities as well. So do you have any final thoughts before we conclude this call, Helen?
Just my final thought is I always say to people on these kind of presentations that go all around visiting all sorts of students, all sorts of schools, and universities as well, is just one, do not let your fears now stop you for the future. And you know, when you're in your 70s or 80s and you're looking back, what are the things you're going to have regretted not doing? So don't have those regrets. Just grab life with both hands, and you will develop so much more than you ever thought you ever were capable of. So I think my main message is just doing something like this, a gap year, whatever that might look like, and taking some time out, you'll end up building so much more confidence, and it'll send you on a different path. I really believe that, and but hopefully a much better one for your future.
Okay, some very wise words at the end. And do you have a screen that you can share your contact details with and a bit more information about Raleigh International?
I don't have a screen. Very old, very kind of modern and fancy. Literally Google Raleigh International. We're
Okay.
all over the internet. You'll find us, Google us or search for us on any of the social platforms. We're all over there. And yeah, there's a lot of content that will hopefully inspire you to go away and do something like that. Maybe not necessarily with us, but yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. It's been invaluable.